Hello there, welcome to the Lowdown Truth. Today is August 15th, 2023. Blessings in Jesus. Wanted to talk today about social media and social engineering. It's a topic that something kind of clicked in my mind the other day when I was thinking about social media and how it shapes and creates the values of society. In particular, it shapes the values of the younger generations. I'm driving to work right now, so I'm doing a live show, and I almost fell out the vehicle. So now I opened the door and closed it, but no, I still wanted to talk about this because I see that social media is, I've always known that social media is powerful and influencing society, but I never really understood, the power of it until recently. I've kind of, whatever reason, I just kind of clicked in my mind, like, it is the number one influencing factor in determining the values of society right now. And I have to say, of the younger generations, the millennials, the Z generation, and then the upcoming Alpha generation, and the X generation to a certain extent, and the Boomers to a certain extent. But especially those generations that grew up with the internet, with the smartphones. I'm the later part of the X generation, and smartphones didn't really show up, en masse until I was, close to 30, in my 30s. So, it's not really where I got my values from. I mean, I was already developed as an adult, and so really it is that time of adolescence and young adulthood where people are forming their identity and their values. And if you think about it, those are being created by social media. I would say probably with 95% of the younger people. And when you think about who is influencing on social media, like, it's not just social media, as a big, general term. It's the social media influencers, and then you got to think about, well, who are the social media influencers, and what are their values? Now, if things were not controlled and manipulated and orchestrated, then you could say, well, you have an organic, random, merit-based system where only the people that get popular is because they represent what the society, they're expressing something, representing something that the society feels or wants to hear. But that's not how society works. That's not how social engineering works. The social engineering factor of the New World Order, elite masters, workers of iniquity that are controlling and manipulating our society at every level. They actually even created the social media platforms as a form of intelligence gathering, but also as a form to socially engineer society, to control and manipulate the way society thinks and how they formulate values. So in essence, every social media influencer, who are the people that become popular, they have the most followers and they have the most views because they're being supported and promoted by those platforms. Every one of them is working towards their agenda, even if they are ignorant of this fact. Basically, nobody's going to get popular. Nobody is going to become an influencer unless they work toward, they're helping the New World Order agenda. Even though it may seem that anybody can become viral, anybody can become an influencer, but that's just the perception that they want you to have, because they want you to think that these platforms are free and valid, and that anybody can become an influencer. But in reality, that's not true. If you talk about certain things, you will be censored, and you'll be not only censored, but you'll be shadow banned, and they have algorithms programmed to put you in the back end of those platforms where you're never going to go viral. You'll never be seen. And I've even seen where they actually take views away and followers away from people. Like they might have had 100,000 views, and then they look over there and there's only 50,000. So, or their video is rising really fast with views, and all of a sudden it just stays stagnant. It just completely stops growing. And so they can manipulate the algorithms and their whatever they want to suppress certain viewpoints. And you saw that on YouTube, how they purged the truther community that spoke about the COVID-19 issues, and also the election issues. So those are just two of the things. But if you speak about other things, that maybe they don't kick you off the platform, but they suppress you. But they do want, at this point, they do allow like a right-wing sentiment and a certain amount of truther sentiment to become popular, so that they can seem valid and organic. So you will find some truthers and people that are speaking against the system, but they won't be able to say certain things. But they do allow a certain amount of protesting, or they allow a certain amount of disagreement with the system and the government and stuff like that, in order to create a perception that their platforms are free and that's important because they want people to put all their time and energy into desiring to become influencers themselves. And that's kind of what I also want to talk about is, how social media is being used as a social engineering tactic. You see, it's my estimation that the number one goal of the younger generations is to become a social media influencer. That is the pinnacle, or the highlight, the ideal goal of their work. That's what they want to do. That would be their biggest dream, is to become a social media influencer, because you don't have to work. You can travel around, you can make money remotely, and you make a lot of money too. Like, if you have millions of viewers, you're not just making your $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year working some menial job, or even working in the trades. You're actually making, $100,000 a year, and basically it's like the ultimate job. And not only that, it appeals to the vanity and the self-centeredness and self-worship of what they're promoting among the young people. Now, most of the social media influencers, most of them, are devoid of character. I mean, these people are basically vain. They don't believe in anything except for themselves. Even if they, say that they're a Christian, I mean, they might say that they're, they have value, but in reality, what they talk about, what they do, it really is just mostly about themselves, mostly about making money, mostly about being an influencer. And so you have the main influencers on the social media platforms that 90% of them are really, they have very selfish, vain characters. So and they don't go against the system. They don't say anything that has any meaning. They're basically just there to talk about whatever they think will make them money. It's all about money and glory to themselves. That's their main two goals. And so that in itself is influencing the younger generations to become to love money, to worship money, to do everything in their life for money, and to be a sellout, and to be a fake vain sellout, basically. And that's what we're seeing. That is, the younger generations have a real issue with their character. Working hard, being honest, having integrity. Obviously, there's exceptions, but this is the main issues with the younger generations, and the older ones to a certain extent. But it's really affecting the younger generations. Like, and most of the boomers and the X generation are not like trying to be social media influencers. But I bet you if you ask most of the millennials and the Z and upcoming alpha, if you ask them what would be your dream job, they would say, to be a social media influencer, to make money remotely and to travel, that kind of thing. So what you have is you have this, you have these influencers that these platforms prop up and support and promote. They allow them to get big. They help them get big. And then you have thousands of and maybe millions of imitators. You have all these different people that are imitating these influencers, and some of them, do pretty well. They become, like, there's different levels of influencers. So you have ones that are like, that have 5,000 views. You got ones that got 50,000 views. Ones that got 500,000. I mean, not views, but followers. They have, 5,000 followers, 50,000 followers, 500,000 followers. And once you get up to that 500,000, million, now you're one of the top echelon. But I think you can make pretty good money just, with 50 to 100,000 followers on YouTube, or the top social media platform is still Facebook, with about 3 billion active users, and the second one I believe is YouTube. I think the third one is Instagram, and I think the fourth is TikTok, and then you got these Chinese ones, and it goes down, and then you have Twitter, Reddit. I think Twitter has like 500 million active users compared to Facebook having 3 billion. So this is what you're looking at, is about half the world is on these social media platforms. But when you look at like America, or the Western countries, you're talking more like 90% of people. And when you look at the younger generations, you're looking at basically almost 100% of them are using some social media. Maybe it's the Snapchat. I think the Snapchat is like 750 million, so even probably bigger than Twitter. So, and soon it'll be maybe something else. Something else will come up in 10 years, and it'll continue to become, to evolve and become more influencing. But you can see now that the number one social engineering tool that the Vatican Zionist-led New World Order elite masters are, masters of death, they're using is social media to social engineer society, to create a value system that promotes their agenda. I also call it the hive mind, and I think that's appropriate because you can also see, like every week or whatever, every other day, there's a different topic or story that is top of the hive mind. And when it's at the top of the hive mind, what that means in practical, in a practical sense online, is it's in the trending category. It's in the viral category. So what you have is you have all these, thousands, maybe millions of influencers and people that are trying to be influencers, and they look at what is trending, what is at the top of the hive mind, and they make stories and they talk about that topic. So instead of having these platforms full of creativity and organic, content that's creative, coming from people that are creative, no, really what you're having is everybody is following the script. So the New World Order puts something up, makes something trending. These platforms make it to be the top of the hive mind, put it up there, and then all the lemmings, all the influencing lemmings go along and talk about it. And it becomes, and then it takes over the conversation of our society. And it creates the values that they want us to have. whether it's a right-wing backlash or maybe it's a liberal communist push, whatever it is. See, that's why they like to control the opposition. They like to make it seem like we're free. They don't want us to know that they're controlling everything. So they have to allow a certain amount of opposition. But they don't want opposition that they don't control. That's why JFK was assassinated, because they weren't controlling him. He was out of control. And that's why, Vince Foster and Ted Gunderson and who was Bill Cooper and many others. That's why they were killed. George Patton, because these are people that they couldn't control. And so, but they don't mind, people that they can control, to be able, to speak against them. They can speak against them, but then they'll make it seem like they're being persecuted. Okay, like for instance, Alex Jones. They make it seem like he's being persecuted, but really they probably control the guy, and that's what I believe. Or Donald Trump, they make it seem like they're persecuting him, but really he's controlled. But you see, that's all part of the agenda, and they I think, in my estimation, they're creating this right-wing backlash. So you're going to be able to see a lot of opposition to the Bolshevik communist push that's been happening. You're going to see the opposition to that. They're going to let it go to the hive mind, and then they're going to allow influencers to talk about it, as long as they don't say certain things. And most of them won't, because they know that if they say those certain things, that they're going to get kicked off the YouTube, and they won't be able to make money. So it's a self-censorship. It's so they can make money, or be an influencer. So instead of having like all these creators on social media that are creating organic content, like they're actually creating something original, unique, and leading people in that, as an influencer, in that unique creative direction. Instead, they're just attaching themselves onto whatever the hive mind puts out there, and then they talk about that, because that's what is trending, and that is what is going to get them views. So you don't really have anybody, you have very few people, and I don't think you have really any influencers that are just talking about things, that are truly organic, truly creative. So what you have is those type of content creators and influencers are not very big. They don't get very big. And if they usually, because they're not controlled, if they get too big, they'll just get scrubbed. They'll get deplatformed, especially from YouTube. But they can go over to BitChute, they can go over to Rumble, they can go over to Odyssey, but you're not going to make the money over there. I don't think BitChute even pays you. You have to get, somebody has to support you. I think Odyssey is the same way. I think Rumble might pay a little bit, but they don't have near the amount of people. So this is the thoughts that I wanted to talk about live this morning on my way to work, and I thought it was relevant to bring up, because maybe it'll help some of the younger people understand why they desire so much to be on social media, like to be an influencer, to make This is like the new Hollywood, the new music industry. It's eclipsing all of those influencing segments of society. The people that are like becoming seemingly organically famous, popular at this time in society, are coming from social media. Just like the new song from that Oliver Anthony, a very sincere, authentic person, but they have allowed him to become viral, and everybody's talking about it. Or the Aldine song before that. See, right now they're pushing a right-wing backlash, so those type of sentiments are going to be allowed to go forward and become part of the hive mind, top of the hive mind, and then everybody talks about them. Or the human trafficking. That was the other one that is a controlled opposition. That whole thing with Sound of Freedom is a controlled opposition. Even though it's, speaking the truth, it's not speaking the whole truth. It's a gatekeeping operation. And, so its conclusions and its solutions are towards their agenda. And, it will not really help solve anything because it's not supposed to. But it is supposed to further an agenda, which is, like I said, becoming right-wing backlash. So, and you notice that anything that is associated with Catholicism or ecumenicism is part of the beast system. I mean, the Antichrist is the papacy, and the workers of iniquity are the secret societies that are all linked and connected to the Vatican, and the Jesuits, and the Antichrist papacy, which is Mystery Babylon. So, something to consider when you're on social media, if you're trying to become somebody on social media, think about it. Do you just want to follow like a lemming and be like everybody else and just talk about what everybody else is talking about? Because that's what they want you to do. You're just regurgitating what's on the hive mind, and you're espousing and propagating the values that the New World Order wants us to have. If you really want to be original, you want to be unique, you want to be helpful, then you have to think separately. You have to separate yourself from the hive mind, and you have to talk about the things that God puts on your heart, whether they're trending or not. And that's the good use of social media. But you have to remember that these platforms are created by the intelligence agencies to profile society, and also to create a social engineering tool that will create the value system that will lead to the agenda of the New World Order. So I just wanted to bring that to you and make people aware of this, thought. God bless you, and I'll talk to you later in Jesus' name.